Hello, welcome to week 4, in which we will mostly be talking about potential ways of proving the existence of God. In this podcast, I'm actually going to cover 4 different positions that one could take regarding the proofs of God. So there are 4 possible positions one can take regarding the proofs of the existence of God. These positions will be covered in this podcast. First, there is rationalism, which is the view that God's existence can be proved, and done so without having to refer to experience. This view relies on a definition of God which includes his not having physical characteristics. Anselm describes the situation thus: Your servant longs to see you, but your face is too far away from him. He desires to enter your presence, but your dwelling is inaccessible. He wants to find you, but he does not know where you are. He aspires to seek you, but he does not know your face. Lord, you are my God, and you are my Lord, but I have never seen you. You have made me and remade me. You have given me every good thing that is mine, and still I do not know you. I was created so that I might see you, but I have not yet done what I was created to do. Anselm then says that God has created, quote, in me this image of you, so that I may remember you, think of you, and love you, unquote. This means that the idea that we have of God is not something we have constructed from experience. We were born with the idea. Thus, proofs of God's existence will not draw on experience. This is at the core of the position of rationalism. God's existence can be proved a priori. A second position is atheism. This is the view that we can prove God's non-existence. Now, there are many ways available to the atheist, some of which might be strictly a priori, and others which might be a posteriori. But the unifying characteristic of all atheistic positions is the claim that God's non-existence can be proven, and therefore we should believe that God does not exist. A position intermediate between rationalism and atheism is what is called agnosticism. Agnostics generally agree with rationalists that any proof of God's existence would be strictly a priori. Unfortunately, there haven't been any a priori proofs that everyone agrees are conclusive. But agnostics don't conclude, with a lot of atheists, that this represents evidence of God's non-existence. A weak form of agnosticism holds that it might be that we are just not smart enough to come up with compelling arguments for God's existence. This leaves room for the possibility that there are some arguments to be discovered or constructed, but that they haven't been discovered or constructed yet. A stronger version of agnosticism holds that there can be no compelling a priori arguments for God's existence. But there can't be any compelling a priori arguments for God's non-existence either. Thus, in contrast to atheists, who advocate believing that God does not exist, agnostics advocate not believing that God exists or believing that God does not exist. One should not believe either proposition, since there isn't enough evidence for the acceptance of either of them. A fourth position is what is called fideism, which rejects the entire notion of proving God's existence through a priori proofs. Fideism holds that if we believe in God's existence, it's strictly a matter of faith, not of proof. Since God cannot be seen, and since it seems that a priori proofs seem destined to fail, one doesn't have any rational justification for believing in God. But then one would believe in God against the evidence, which is what having faith in something amounts to. Therefore, one believes in God, but not as a result of rational justification. There are problems with each of these views, some of which we may encounter as we discuss this in class. One thing to notice here, however, is that both Anselm and Aquinas are rationalists. What we get from them is rationalist a priori proofs for God's existence.